Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander Salerno, and this is my 2022 Fall Capstone proposal, Adapting Certified Meteorological Alert Services to the Changing Social Media Climate. First, I'd like to dive into the motivation behind this proposal. As meteorologists, we've all seen the absolute devastation that storms can cause amongst the public. The United States is by far the most severe weather-prone country in the world. A typical year features over 20,000 thunderstorms, 5,000 floods, 1,300 tornadoes, and at least 6 Atlantic basin hurricanes. Unfortunately, floods will kill upwards of 100 people per year, and tornadoes will kill upwards of 80 people per year. Many tornadic deaths will come from monsters such as the EF5 Moore, Oklahoma tornado, which killed 24 people and is responsible for the damage you are seeing in this picture. It's catastrophic, devastating, almost unfathomable. Yet every year, meteorologists see pictures of damage somewhat similar to this throughout the nation. And those images serve a purpose. Yes, they're gut-wrenching and terrible, but it should remind us of the importance of meteorologists. We are acting to serve the public, whether that's through research or broadcasting. And many before me have shared that ideology, and it led to the creation of a world-renowned system of severe weather awareness and messaging known as the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service has stations across the United States and its various territories. However, it wasn't until the 1850s that an organized severe weather service began. This was in the form of volunteers reporting observations from 500 stations to the Washington Evening Star. This was the very beginning of organized weather services spanning across multiple states. In 1869, the telegraph was introduced, and it drastically improved our ability to record and transmit weather data, essentially at a much faster rate than we could in the past. This development swiftly led to the increased efforts in our ability to forecast the weather, and it greatly improved or increased the desire for a countrywide, structurally sound system of weather alert services, one that could only come from infrastructure provided through a government agency. That's when in 1870, President Grant signed into law a congressional resolution with the aim of recording meteorological observation at military stations throughout the United States and then reporting those findings across the country. This was the very beginning of a government-funded agency with the direct and main goal of forecasting and reporting the weather. This would eventually lead to the birth of the National Weather Service's predecessor, also known as the Weather Bureau. The creation of this organization came in 1890 under the U.S. government and would soon expand its services into hurricane warnings for the West Indies, furthering the progression into being the standard service for alerting the public of meteorological dangers. Government aid in the form of advancing technology was crucial for the Weather Bureau, as it was passed down 25 radars from the Army and Navy to better equip itself for short-range and now-casting forecasts. Technology continued to advance, and so did the Weather Bureau. Eventually, by 1950, the Weather Bureau felt confident enough to begin issuing 30-day outlooks, as well as beginning to alert the public to tornadic threats. This is where we start to see interactions with the Weather Bureau and organizations such as TV companies to help better alert the public. The Weather Bureau's decision to adapt with new technology during the mid-1900s propelled the program into an unprecedented era of research and forecast improvements. By 1970, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration was created, and the Weather Bureau became the National Weather Service. Throughout this time period, the Weather Service had a great and outstanding relationship with the private industry to again advance technology such as new Dopplers or new alert processing systems such as AWIPS, the Advanced Weather Interactive Processing System, as well as a continued and outstanding relationship with television agencies to alert the public to severe weather and other meteorological information. Maintaining this relationship was crucial, as television was one of the main sources of news media for people throughout the 1900s. However, as you can see from this graphic, television as a public news source is decreasing rapidly, actually. From 2016 to 2017, that popularity dropped from 57% to 50%, while online news sources increased 6% up to 43% compared to the year before. So this creates the problem of maintaining consistent and valid public messaging across these sources. What are these online sources? Are they competitors? Are they here to work with us? Or do they have their own agendas when it comes to public severe weather awareness? It's not quite simply just one problem. First, there is the issue with public messaging. How do we convey severe weather information as meteorologists to the public? How do we convey this information in a manner in which the public will understand? There is no denying the importance of how we convey our severe weather information, as we cannot successfully help the public if they do not understand what we are saying. However, there is another challenge arising with conveying information to the public. With social media, specifically social media that is content driven, which feeds off techniques to get more engagement. So we are entering into a new age of lacking credibility and increasing amount of sources. However, currently, the National Weather Service does not have a competitive nature with independent and private sector meteorology. In the past, the private sector has worked great with the National Weather Service. And even recently, the National Weather Service has stressed a non-competitive nature with any other sources of meteorological information. They hope to support these sources or work with these sources, again, like television agencies, which in the past have worked fantastically with the National Weather Service. However, now it is easier for two things. One, it is easier for people to pick and choose where exactly they want their meteorological information or just news sources from in general. They have so many different options, whether that's social media, email, again, television news, etc. With these developments of online sources, it has essentially created a new domain for people to spread information that might not be exactly factual. A source may seem credible to a viewer when it actually is far from it. Misinformation not only puts the public at risk, but it also serves to degrade the trust that the public has with the National Weather Service or certified meteorologists who work closely or in some form of collaboration with the National Weather Service. And as you can see by these two examples, the internet provides a platform for sources that are otherwise not established as credible meteorology sources to post their opinions and weather information that may not be factual, but yet absorbed by the public. Looking at the example on the left, this email service is posting and spreading misinformation about mammatus clouds. And unfortunately, this is reaching the likes of 17,000 people. Where on the right, you have a thumbnail clickbait, or thumbnail meant to essentially get clickbait on an event at the time was 5 weeks from happening. And as you can see, 54,000 people viewed that video, which means 54,000 people are seeing dramatized possible misinformation about weather, which directly conflicts and almost undermines the National Weather Service's goal for severe weather forecasting. So that's the goal of this research, to get ahead of the curve of misinformation on social media essentially like this. Get ahead of the curve of the growing amount of sources that aren't credible under the National Weather Service and could be directly competing with the National Weather Service and undermining the trust the public has in the National Weather Service's ability to keep them safe. The goal is to understand how the dynamic is changing between meteorologists and the people they forecast for, due to social media interaction. And then how can we improve on these interactions? And the other goal is to understand how much of a threat private meteorology and commercial meteorology is for the National Weather Service and certified broadcasters. What is the proper strategy for dealing with these new weather alert services and how they affect the public perception on the National Weather Service? Is it non-competitive like it has been in the past with the National Weather Service? Or is it time to start taking more of a competitive stance towards these sources and how we deal with the content-driven world of social media? It first starts with multiple phases of surveys. First surveys will be somewhat of an inward reflection on our ability to condone and promote severe weather alerts to the public. Reassess if the National Weather Service and certified broadcasters are correctly using social media to best promote severe weather messaging to the public to increase their severe weather awareness. In phase 2 would be a strategy based on the information provided from phase 1 to gain back more of the public as their source of meteorological information. This may also lead to surveys done after severe weather events, polling the public respectfully on whether they feel that they can still trust the National Weather Service, whether they feel that the news sources that they are getting their meteorological information from did a good job forecasting for that event. In conclusion, it's clear that the public is changing its ways of getting meteorological information, largely due to new sources online. So, the goal of this research is to assess how this changing climate is affecting the National Weather Service and certified broadcasters' ability to reach the public, as well as developing a strategy to make the National Weather Service and certified broadcasters or meteorologists the main source of information for the public, once again, especially when it comes to severe weather events. So, I'd like to thank you for tuning into my presentation. I'm Alexander Salerno, and as always, stay severe weather aware.